Look, it's hard being rad all the time. We can't even maintain character on a live stream, and wrestlers are supposed to be out here pretending to be superheroes, supervillains, or whatever Otis is, all while a nose hair away from potential injury. Not to mention all the pitfalls of live broadcasting, a show whose segments are frequently thrown together at the last minute by the world's most Republican pepper army, and yes, the fact that wrestlers are able to maintain character at all is something close to miracle work. We've all seen the candid photos of wrestlers breaking character when the cameras aren't on them, Triple H consoling a child, Baron Corbin consoling a child, which is a significant downgrade for the child, and Undertaker going mental after a hot tag at a house show. But do we all remember the times that wrestlers broke character and it actually made it to air? Well, that's why I'm here. Merry Christmas. This is 10 times a WWE wrestler broke character on camera. Number 10, for Fox's sake. Alicia Fox, hat advocate, Northern Lights suplex grandmaster, and altogether madass, was an unpredictable character. Sometimes she'd show up, do a no-nonsense job and be relatively normal. Other times she'd bring out one of her patented mental tantrums. She was a character always on the precipice of having something to do, but never quite being a featured play. You never knew which Foxy you were going to get, which makes it all the funnier on the September 5th, 2016 episode of Raw, when suddenly we got both at the same time. Alicia Fox was backstage talking to Nia Jax about Nia beating up one of her jobber friends when WWE remembers, oh, Alicia's gimmick is having her throwing shit. She then proceeds to accidentally clatter Nia in the face with a box, and then in WWEville they say, Alicia Fox's heart grew 3 sizes that day. Suddenly human compassion overcomes Foxy and she stops her tantrum dead and holds her hands to Jax's face in apology before remembering, oh yeah, I'm on camera, and reverts back to, yeah, how'd you like that? Oops. Number 9, London Gurning. Rewind to 2007, a very, very bad year for professional wrestling for reasons we'll get into in this entry and the next one. Back in June, the first chess moves were being made for what was planned to be the biggest storyline of 2007. After a disastrous Vince McMahon appreciation night, Vinnie M blew up inside his own limo and seemingly died. It was going to span for months. His brother Roderick was going to appear as an on-screen character. There'd be a struggle for power. Mr. Kennedy would emerge as a major player. We'll get to why none of that happened later, but just looking back now to the night in question, Vince walking to his limo through the back where walls of talent were lined up, about 80% of whom I cannot remember their names. Everyone is super serious, like they know something terrible is about to happen. The dramatic foreboding in all capital letters. And then there's Paul London and Brian Kendrick, who are smirking up a storm. Kendrick is at least trying not to laugh, and Paul London is just straight up beaming with joy, while everyone else looks like they've caught their willy in the door. Apparently Vince was pissed, in all caps, at this seeming break of character, but in interviews since, London claims they did like 8 takes of that walk, and he smiled every time, and no one pulled him up on it. Number 8, Vince cancels his own deaths. So yeah, the reason why none of it happened, as most of you probably already know, is that a week later, instead of what was supposed to be a Vince McMahon tribute show, WWE aired a Chris Benoit tribute show instead, because they'd learned about the deaths of Chris, his wife Nancy, and their son Daniel. Vince not only broke character, he came back to life in order to introduce the show, completely disregarding everything up until that moment, his own descent into madness character arc included. When real life strikes, obviously storyline has to be pushed aside. JR did something similar when Owen Hart died halfway through Over the Edge 1999, but JR was a face commentator, so it wasn't such a violent shift in character. Not a judgment, obviously, just an observation. Anyway, moving on to lighter things. Number 7, Brock Lolsner. Even though Brock Lesnar seems like the kind of person who probably learned how to laugh from a book and misunderstood half of what he'd read, it was oddly heartwarming to see him yuck it up with R-Truth before the Royal Rumble. Wait. This year? That happened this year? Lord. Brock is in the ring doing his stone-faced little dance, tiddly tiddly tee, when R-Truth arrives to declare himself for the Rumble. Challenge Paul Heyman, find out it's actually Brock who'll be in the Rumble, and then undeclare himself immediately. Paulie plays it completely straight, but for some reason, the planets align and Lesnar loses composure. It's a total break, with the man who was a million sharks squeezed into the body of a German farmhand corpsing like it's the first day at the Chuckle Hut. He does then murder R-Truth, of course, because it's Brock, but it's disconcerting to see a human side of the beast. Fun fact, this was all part of a bet R-Truth made with Heyman to see if he could make Brock laugh. Well played, sir. Number 6, Seth is so tough he's cute. The Shield are big toughies. Look at them. Tough little men, yes they are. Yes they are. For reals, the Shield are WWE's most successful project of the decade, and that's due in no small part to the commitment and dedication of Rollins, Ambrose, and Reigns. It's clear they're good chums from their chemistry, especially in their backstage promos where they each take it in turns to grimace into a camera that was held almost directly under their f***ing nostrils. When someone else was talking, their direction is basically stand in the back, look down the lens, and look tough. And on the June 14th, 2013 episode of SmackDown, while the Shield are cutting a promo being broadcast live to the crowd and the wrestlers in the ring, Seth Rollins goes so tough, he goes full circle and breaks. Whilst Ambrose is speaking, Seth does his best impression of Triple H, going "Rrrr," and then realizes how silly he looks and can't help but crack a little smile, turning away as quick as he can. But we saw you. We caught you, little man. Fun fact, this promo happened the same night that Shield were officially beaten for the first time. Karma's a bitch. Number 5, such a man. More wrestlers being cute now. The world needs more of that. And Daniel Bryan, the nicest person to ever kick you so hard your lungs become novel. Good chums who don't take themselves too seriously. The Dazzler and Ninja Regal say hello. As such, in again a truly heartwarming scene, Bryan pranks Regal before their match, which by the way happened in the UK. Isn't it wonderful? Regal makes his way to the ring to his normal supervillain theme, but as he's halfway down the ramp per Bryan's request, the song suddenly changes to Real Man's Man, his first theme from when he was Steven Regal, a masculine fellow who wore a hard hat and plaid and who refused to eat quiche. You know, like men do. In front of the cameras and the crowd, Regal and Bryan both break into giggles, and oh, isn't wrestling nice sometimes? Number 4, Kofi Kingston shoves Pancakes in Kayfabe's mouth and Kayfabe dies. Kofi Kingston is no stranger to sudden peaks behind wrestling's fourth wall. The fact that he had dropped his once Jamaican accent was brought up by DX on live telly, and of course the whole Randy Orton stupid thing. And then there's this. On the 23rd of November 2015 episode of Raw emanating from Nashville, Tennessee, the top-tier heel incarnations of the New Day came out to insult country music, during which Kofi drops the bomb. This is me saying this, not my character. Country music sucks. Like, okay, I guess. CM Punk dropped his pipe bomb before challenging for the WWE title. Roman Reigns and Cena broke the fourth wall to hype a once-in-a-lifetime clash at a pay-per-view. Kofi just went there to dunk on country music. And sometimes when the night air is still and you listen extra hard, you can still hear Jim Cornette's mind shattering into 1,000 pieces at the infraction. Number 3, Michael Cole becomes great for a night, moving to a serious place one last time. We mentioned earlier in this list that sometimes it's up to the broadcast team to relay serious, real-life news to the people watching at home. On the September 10th, 2012 episode of Raw, Jerry the King Lawler suffered a heart attack live during a match between Team Hell No and the Primetime Players. Not an unfair reaction to watching Titus O'Neil wrestle. Michael Cole gets a lot of stick, but as it's been said before, and it's absolutely right, he was brilliant in this fallout. Not knowing whether his friend was alive or dead, he handled medical updates with grace, sensitivity, and utter professionalism. What makes it all the more remarkable was up till this point, Cole had still been in his heel persona. Not as obnoxious as he'd been the year before in his feud with Lawler, but still vaguely on the side of the heels. After his masterful handling of the Lawler situation, Cole actually broke character with such success that he turned full babyface again in the weeks that followed. Number 2, anytime Randy Orton gets bored. Genuinely, all of the times that Randy Orton broke character could be its own top 10 list. From the time he flipped off the crowd on camera, to the time he did a random star jump after RKOing Mark Henry, to eating a hot dog while selling an attack from wacky Dean Ambrose, corpsing at the New Day, asking him how many groups he's been in, asking Sheamus what's my line during a promo battle, killing one of the Sings and pulling a whoops face, asking a member of the audience if the show is off the air so he could stop selling. Basically, older, not giving a shit Randy Orton is awesome. And to emphasize that point, here's him being a genuinely nice fella. At Survivor Series 2016, Shane McMahon took a hell of a bump, with Roman plucking him out of a coast-to-coast with a spear, giving him a whopper concussion. It's clear to anyone that something's wrong, and as medical personnel flock to the ring, the camera picks up Randy Orton moving outside of the ring to the bottom left corner of the screen. That is Orton going over to console Shane's kids, letting them know that their dad is going to be okay. That's nice. That's kind. And number 1, it's live, pal. Is it Sid? Course it's Sid. The most infamous moment of a wrestler breaking character in the history of the business, course it is. Now, it's not very nice to call someone dumb, but apparently Sid is on record saying that he has half the brain that I do, so I think it's okay. In the live free-for-all pre-show to the first ever In Your House pay-per-view in May 95, Diesel is defending the WWF title against the master and rule of the world, Sid. And oh man, it's lucky this was on the live pre-show. I keep mentioning it was a live pre-show because apparently no one f***ing told Sid, who, when asked how he would address his doubters, he stumbles over his words before saying, "Let me do this again," to which JR responds, "It's live, pal," before quick as a flash, Sid finishes the promo, JR signing off. There you have it, a man of few words. A few, but still too many. And that's our list. What are your favourite moments of wrestlers breaking character on camera? Let us know below. Don't forget to like and share this video around, and subscribe if you haven't already for more great news and lists. And never forget to jam that jam.